Oh, hello, hello. I am Leslie Lepage, the director of the La Femme International Film Festival, and this is a podcast for people who are interested in advancing their career in film and TV and learning the dirty little secrets of Hollywood. And goodness, there's a lot of those. Anyways, I would like to introduce today our wonderful guest, Kimberly Harris, and she's amazing. She's a writer-director. She's the founder of First Hand Films, LLC. She's directed plays in Chicago and New York City and in Los Angeles. So she's an award-winning playwright as well as an award-winning director-writer. Her feature, I Heard Sarah, was shown at the La Femme International Film Festival, but also received the Robert Rodriguez Best Indie Auteur Filmmaker Award at Bare Bones International Music and Film Festival. Some of her stage credits, because she's an actress as well, her stage credits include Bang the Drum Slowly, where she originated the role of Holly. And that's a wonderful thing to, be able to incorporate into her filmmaking. She currently teaches at the Strasberg Film Theater Institute in West Los Angeles, and she teaches acting workshops as well. And she's got an MA from Illinois State University in Theater and a double MFA from the Actors Studio Drama School. I'd like to welcome Kimberly. How are you?
Thank you so much.
Was that a good build up?
That was wonderful. I sound like I've been so busy. I think I have. I loved your festival. It's so lovely to see you again. Every time I think of it, I just picture so many talented women in one place on Zoom, more than I've ever been with in my whole career. And it was so beautiful and monumental to me to have that experience. So thank you for that. I loved it.
You're welcome. For the listeners tapping in, because so many festivals pivoted last year to the online environment, La Femme took a more aggressive view on how can we still keep that warm and fuzzy networking feel. And we brought over 165 female writer-directors in one big Zoom meet and greet. And we broke them out into rooms and had them get to know each other. It was actually kind of crazy and good.
So good.
Right? Because I think you were forced to network, where sometimes if we have an on-ground event, you might, some may hide in the corner and only talk to two or three, whereas, in the Zoom environment, it was like speed dating for filmmakers.
Yes, thanks to you. And all women.
And all women.
Such a wonderful experience.
Well, talking about women, I mean, you are a successful writer-director, but that's not where you really started your roots from. Your roots were from the acting, and coming in with that. So I want to talk a little bit about that and then how you decided to do that crossover.
I am a trained actor and acted off-Broadway and started my career in Chicago. And I think I did my first play when I was 6. And then I did several versions of Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz through school. And then my first professional play was opposite Tracy Letts. I played his trophy wife. So I had very good experiences. I got to act with wonderful actors like Tracy and Michael Shannon, and just wonderful experiences as an actor. Working with Susan Batson at the Actors Studio MFA program, and she started working with Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman on a Stanley Kubrick film in Australia. And she just sort of pointed to me and she said, "You're going to be working with the actors while I'm gone." I said, "Me? I'm an actor." And she saw something in me. And once I started coaching actors, I realized, oh my gosh, I love coaching actors. This is such a big passion for me. So I continued to act and coach actors. And I started my own school in my hometown called Theater School. Worked as an actor and also coaching actors. And then I came out here acting. I did a workshop play of Terrence McNally's, one of his musicals with Thomas Sadowski and Lisa Kudrow and Josh Radnor, and was just having an incredible experience as an actor. But was at Strasbourg, and I had written a short play, and I was teaching, and two of the students, they were producers from Switzerland, and they said, we want to work with you. Do you have anything that you've written that you could turn into a film? And I said, I actually do have a short play that ran in a festival, the Samuel French Festival in New York, that everyone said should be a film. So let me write a screenplay. And then they said, will you direct it? And this was 4 years ago. And I said, I don't direct. I was telling my mom about the experience, and she said, what do you mean? You said no. Of course you can do it. And I said, I can. And so, I mean, I had directed theater, but I had never directed a film. So I put this together. I said, what the heck? I directed it. And then all of a sudden I thought, oh, I was so comfortable. It felt so intuitive. It was all of the skills, all of the training sort of culminated into this thing. And I have not stopped directing since. It's really just turned all of my creative juices on, and I've been passionate about directing since. And something opened in the universe. Once I directed that, it was just, films have just been coming to me and coming to me and coming to me. And I'm still directing theater too, but I just love filmmaking. It's everything, and I think I like it better than anything else.
Oh, be careful what you say. Shh. Shh. We won't tell anybody that. We'll keep it a secret between us and everyone else listening. So you have this play, you have these people interested, and you convert it into this feature. And now you're on set and you're mantling this huge project. Talk about the language you used when working with the directors, because for those that are listening, we're talking about one of her films, I Heard Sarah, which is a marvelous indie film. You should try and find this and watch this, but the acting is really off the charts. So how was that communication with you and the actors?
Right. The story I just told was about my first short, Rose's Turn, and then I made a short called Faith, and then I Heard Sarah, which is the one that I got to, the feature, which I got to put in your incredible festival. Yeah, I mean, my greatest skill certainly is working with actors. I've been doing it for 20 years, and I do think you're right. I think that having been an actor, a lot of my sensitivity comes from understanding the actor's needs. And I really do know how to bring a performance out of an actor. That's just something I feel very confident in. I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of actors, all ages, different cultures, and I do have a specific aesthetic. I like actors to approach the work very personally. I take the script very seriously, but I also, once we analyze and break down the script and really the arc of the story and everything, I like them to personally relate to it. And I do use improv. We used a lot of improv in I Heard Sarah. And thank you for your compliment about the performances in that. In that, what I did was I shot the script, then I had them improvise the scenes, and then I shot them. I said, now you have to do the scene, but you don't get to talk. You can't use any language. Somehow you have to communicate it to each other without language. And so we shot it 3 different ways, which made my editing process a huge learning experience.
I'm sure. And your editor was probably not necessarily on board with that, but we can talk about that. We can talk about that as the next question.
But yeah, it was, the casting process I was really diligent in, because I know I was going to be demanding of the actors on all 3 films. I really like actors that want to work in this aesthetic that I appreciate, which is to really bring themselves to the role, really live the role, and personalize everything.
Well, let's just jump back in time again. So you did 2 shorts and then you jumped into the feature.
Yes.
So you kind of had a little bit of the getting your feet wet in the short genre, right? And when you started soliciting those shorts into the festival circuit, you started having immediate recognition, yes?
Yeah, Rose's Turn, the one that the Swiss couple, Claudia Arne and Eric Dentz, that came to me, they wanted to act in it, and And I had
Hmm.
been working with them as actors at Strasberg, so I knew they could act, and they also had an ability to fund a film. So that was who I directed in Rose's Turn, and then I hired a casting director, Carrie Rock, and we did a huge casting, and we found Rhonda Stebbins White, who's just an incredibly brilliant actress. She played Rose, and yeah, it went to Cannes. It won a lot of awards. Rhonda won Best Actor award, so it was an incredible experience. It was really, and I
Hmm.
really fell in love with filmmaking. My DP, Matt Holla, has shot all three of my films. We worked very intuitively together, which I think is such a big part because I do allow the actors to follow their impulses, and so I really need a DP that can follow that and gets that, and he is a DP like that. So yeah, it did really well. I don't even we got into maybe 35 festivals and won several awards.
So, how did you use that short to kind of jump and propel you into your next project? Did you get any interest from people that were spotting you saying, hey, this could be another career path for you, and let's take you in as an agent or manager, representing you? How did that all work?
Well, the next short is a passion project for me that I'm actually turning into a series, but it was called Faith, and that did really well too. It won the New York City International Film Festival for Best Short. But one of the producers on that did see Rose's Turn, and then he wanted me to direct him as an actor, and then we put that much smaller budget together and shot that, and we got Britt Lauer and Jess Gabor to be in it, and I wrote the script, and people really responded well to the script. And then after that, I think is when Zero Gravity, my manager, found me. I was directing Fool for Love. I was directing the play Fool for Love, and they came a couple times and saw the play, and then they watched my shorts, and then they signed me.
And so once they signed you, did you find, okay, so this is the $1 million question. A lot of young filmmakers think, gosh, once I get signed, the yellow brick road will open up. The angels will come down and start singing, and life will be great. But that's not necessarily completely true. Tell us how you developed that working relationship, what they did, what you did, and how you've kind of utilized them to move along your career.
I think that's an excellent question, and I do think there's so many misconceptions about representation. Now, to be
Mm-hmm.
fair, I am not an expert at this yet because I've been signed as a writer director for 2 years, whereas I was signed as an actor for 15 years, so it's different. And I've had to really come to terms with how it's different because as an actor, you're getting auditions several a week. As a writer director, you're not necessarily doing that. You're generating your own work, your own community, and sort of asking them to then, can you reach out to this? So, for example, this feature that I'm directing called "The Boy in the Pink Flip Flops" by Robert Allen Ackerman, who's this brilliant writer. My management company had a relationship with an actor that we thought would be perfect for it. So I asked them, will you reach out to this actor? And they said yes. So that helped because they had a relationship with this A-list actor who passed. We're still looking for an actor for that role.
Okay.
But
But they reached out to them
they
for
they
you.
did,
Yes. Right.
and that's how I've learned to, you don't, as a writer director, you don't sit by the phone and wait for them to call you. I mean, I'm sure Ava DuVernay does, I'm sure Shonda Rhimes does, but I don't. I am constantly writing, creating, sending them stuff, asking them, will you send it to this person? Will you send it to this person? And sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. It depends on if they have the relationship, if they think that it's interesting, and I am just beginning to navigate, how to best use that relationship as well. But that's really what I feel is that you, as a filmmaker, you're seeking out the stories you want to tell and then still trying to find a way to make them happen. And if your reps can help you, you can ask them for that help.
Right. Well, that's a topic that I think there is a lot of misconceptions on. Like I said, they think the yellow brick road is then laid out and everything is going to be fine and dandy, and they forget that you actually still have to hustle. You have to hustle and find those opportunities, and then ask that representation, "Hey, could you send it out? Well, we're trying to I'm trying to get this done. Can you help on this avenue?" So that's not a new story, but it's a story that a lot of the listeners need to hear, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And the good thing about having a rep is they have these vetted relationships that you don't have. But it's still 100% up to the artist. And again, I'm sure, I coach a couple famous actors who you would know who they were. And I'm sure they have their reps. I mean, I know for a fact they do, calling them, sending them scripts, offering them projects. But I think that's, what percentage of talent is at that level, maybe 5%. The rest are, we are seeking out the stories we want to tell until we get to that point where people are just shooting us offers.
All right, so let's circle back again. We're now, you've got this feature film called I Heard Sarah, and you're now on set. How did you get the funding for that? What was the process for you on securing that?
Well, it's interesting because for my path, which I think is pretty unusual, because I have an MFA in acting and playwriting and an MA in theater, which is basically theater history. So, but I am this pretty vetted acting coach. So again, with all three films, it kind of came through an actor producer who said, "I want you to direct me because I know you're going to bring out a good performance in me, and I want to work with you." And that's what happened with this. This actor had this very personal story that I really resonated with, but he had never written a screenplay, so we wrote it together, and then he produced it. He had an ability to produce the film and provide the funding, and so we were able to make it. It's a $300,000 film that we shot in 7 days.
That's a hard turnaround for an indie.
Yeah.
7 days,
Yeah,
right?
it was intense, and that included shooting 2 music videos for the film. I'm attached to films with $3 million budgets, and I know in the film world that's not even a lot of money, but for me, I felt so grateful I was able to do what I wanted to do with $300,000, and he was able to provide that. So that's okay with me. I mean, I'm going to work just as hard if it's a huge budget or a small budget. It doesn't change my process or my commitment at all.
Okay, so now that you've got it done, and let's jet back in time, you're soliciting it to the film festival circuit. Was there a process for you? Did you go through and handpick which festivals you wanted to go through? What was your theory behind getting this out there? And did you use social media also as an instrument along that festival circuit?
For this one, I said, listen, this is my first feature. My friend, I have a brilliant friend named Kate Mark. She's a director, and she had introduced me to someone named Kimberly Browning at one point, who runs Project Involve over at HBO. And she said she curates film festivals for filmmakers. And I felt like I needed an expert because, like I said, it was my first feature, and I wanted, and so she actually is the one that said, La Femme, Chelsea. She's the one that picked the film festivals that she thought would be a good fit for I Heard Sarah. And that's who we submitted to this time. I did not have a lot of time to work social media. We had, for a short period, we had a social media person that did some of that for us. But for me, if La Femme posts something, I'll paste it, I'll put it up, and super excited. But I'm not a social media wizard or anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for you, which we actually haven't had a lot of people talk about having a curator of film festivals and how that worked for you. So if we could talk about that, I'm sure a lot of the listeners will be going, "What? There's curators? Like they don't know about this." So can we talk? Let's talk about maybe pricing, if you can divulge that, and how she approached it, and what that relationship with you and her were.
Yeah, I mean, again, a lot of independent filmmakers don't have funding for that, and I'm very sympathetic to that because I've worked on projects where I haven't, but this particular producer had some funding for her, and I think it was, it's not. I think she works differently depending on what the needs were, but I think she's very reasonable and loves filmmakers and wants to work with filmmakers. So she knows this is just someone who it makes it her business to know every single film festival out there. And so she really studies the film and she really thinks about the film festivals and she makes these matches and she creates this Excel worksheet and she says, these are the dates, this is what you're going to do. And we've had, I don't know, about a 75% success rate. And it was definitely because she understood how our material would fit into, the aesthetic of these particular film festivals. Like she knew, she was in the know on that. Whereas in the past, I've just been sort of shooting in the dark. I don't, and so now I have this knowledge where I go, oh, okay, it really does matter. It's like dating, it's like matchmaking. Like not every film festival is going to respond to your work. And I heard Sarah's super edgy. It's about addiction and recovery. It's there's a heroin scene. I could have on my own sent it to someone who's looking for family films, not really understanding that wouldn't be a good match. So she got that, it's music based, it's addiction based. Go here, go here. It's female driven. Go here, go here, go here. It was a huge help. So Kimberly Browning is her name, and she runs the Hollywood Reel Film Festival, and I highly recommend, investing in that for anyone that can. It's really investment.
I totally understand that. We do this on our end as well, and I call it targeting, right? So we look at the film out there, we help target and matchmake, because our point of view, or my point of view, is the film is dating. You're trying to find a good match, right? So think of it as dating. And you're out there trying to find your hot guy or your hot gal to date, and you're not going to necessarily be dating the schlub, unless that's the perfect match for you, right? The schlub could be very funny and could work, but you got to know what your dating match is.
And it was the best film festival experience that I've had so far because of that, because of the good matchmaking. Like I said, I loved La Femme, your festival. Like I loved it. I had an incredible experience. I had amazing conversations. I loved the films I've watched. And, at Awareness Festival, because it was cause-based, we got to I was on a recovery panel where I talked about what I learned about recovery making this film. And, so it made it more meaningful that someone did that matchmaking.
And it gave you a higher percentage of success when submitting, which is really also a very important thing on being able to become that officially selected film for a particular film festival. So moving past that, now, have you secured distribution for this? Are you seeking distribution? Let's talk about that process.
Yes, so we still have 3 more festivals coming up, and then we're going to have to venture into Distribution. I'm currently in development for 3 projects and directing a play. So I have not put my mind into that at this moment because I know we have these other 3 festivals coming up. I would love to get distribution for it. I mean, it's a little unusual. It's a 72-minute film. Some people have called it avant-garde. I definitely was playing with structure, and there's no household name actor in it. So I don't know where, distributors are going to think it's best suited, but I would love distribution, of course.
Well, you'll have to circle back and do a follow up once you get distribution and tell us how that worked out for you. I think it can achieve distribution. You just have to find that right match. Again, it's dating, right? It's dating the right distribution company that says, we get it. And my gut feeling is to point you more into the international distributors that will have a more open point of view than maybe the domestic ones that are looking for that, solid name. As a piece of advice for those that are listening in, you're dating, your film is dating. So, working into your continued feature film, what is the process for you on this film, the new one that you were working on? How did that come about?
Well, I'm working on a few. One I wrote, and we are actively seeking a producer for that, and Zero Gravity is sending that out to producers for me. But I'm also, based on our previous topic, I'm also seeking producers personally. I think it's a partnership. I don't just say, okay, now I'm just going to put my fate in someone else's hands. Like, I work with them, but they are helping me with that, and I'm really excited about that. One came through this young writer named Zan. It's called Tell Me Something Good, and she sent me the script through Zero Gravity, and I read it, and I knew I was meant to make it. And so I had a friend named Margaret Marr who has her own production company, and now she's producing for us. So we're actually going to streaming services for that one. We're reaching out to different streaming services and different production companies, talking to different production companies like a Plan B and places like that about finding a home for that. We're searching for a home. And then with The Boy in the Pink Flip-Flops, that's in Italy. I get to go to Italy and make that one. I can't wait. Michael Mailer and Alessandro Panazzi are the producers on that, and their financing model is they cast an A-list actor so that they can get international. That's their model. They always take it off of the big actor. So right now we're going out to those actors, and once we cast one, we are going to Italy. So there's 3 different models, for all 3 of these, and so they're all in development.
So for those listening in, what she's really talking about is the financing model. When you are casting an A-lister, then you can potentially go out and do pre-sales. That might be the model, the financing model that they're seeking, or they may be tapping into investors that have invested with them before based off of the successes on previous films using these A-listers, as opposed to the more indie where you aren't reliant upon that A-lister, but you're still casting, a relatively known actor, and designing the film that way. So for those listening in, okay. So sorry, I want to recap so that, people can kind of follow along who may not be experts or may not be filmmakers listening in. Where's your future going in this? Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? And by the way, I want you to bring those films back to us, but where do you see yourself in the next 5 years career-wise?
I get very obsessed with the stories I attach myself to. So every single day I'm going through these 3 scripts. I can't wait to make these movies. So definitely in the next 5 years, I want to make all 3 of these features. I'm also creating a series based off of my short film Faith, which I'm really excited about. So right now I'm finishing the pitch deck for that. And as soon as I get that done, I'm going to you know, give everything to making that series. I'm really excited about that. And so yeah, I have 4 projects that I'd like to see happen in the next 5 years. I also love directing theater. I'm directing a play right now for Strasbourg at the Marilyn Monroe Theater, and and I'm open. If something, the thing is, when things are in development, I thought The Boy in the Pink Flip Flops was going to happen right before the pandemic.
Well, a lot of things are supposed to happen before the pandemic.
Yes. So, I don't know what the timeline is going to be. I thought that was the next one I was going to make, but now it looks like maybe Tell Me Something Good is going to happen first. And I'm also open. Like, I want people to be sending me projects and scripts. I'm Film Independent is fiscally sponsoring a short film that I'm directing called Now and Never, which is starring Kavi Ladner. And, I'm going to do that this summer because I want to.
Right, right.
Yeah. So I have this 5-year plan, but I'm also open, and I've learned that you can't control that with films. You just can't.
Mm-hmm.
You have to,
Right.
you have to stay open, and maybe something new is going to come in that I'm going to do before one of these films. But
Mm-hmm.
for sure, I'm going to get these films made somehow.
Well, I know you will. Have you gotten the hybrid acting bug where you go, well, let's see, how can I pull off acting, directing, producing, writing? Have you decided that at some point you might interject yourself in there?
It's the funniest thing. I identified Leslie as an actor. If you would have told me that I wouldn't be acting 365 days a year, even 7 years
Mm-hmm.
ago, I would say you're insane. No, I was born and acted. I don't know what's happened. I love directing so much, and I love writing and directing so much. And I just really haven't thought about that. I mean, I have a few friends that I think are brilliant that have directed me before, that if they said, "Will you come act for me?" I'd say, "Absolutely, I will."
Right.
But I don't know. Right at this particular moment, I'm really into what I'm doing.
That's good. Well, but bringing this back to on set, what if you're not getting what you want from an actor? Are you falling back on your training? Because I understand Strasbourg and Stella and all the biggies, right? How do you handle that? What do you do to elicit that from them?
I think it's very important. And again, this is, for better for worse, I am incredibly empathic with actors. It's impossible for me not to be interpreting through my instrument and sort of channeling in that way, because that's how I learn the craft. So I don't really have that separation. I'm feeling what they're doing. So I like to create a very safe environment for actors so that they feel free.
Mm-hmm.
They have freedom. And if for some reason there's a block, there's so many techniques I have to help. I've never had the situation where I felt like I had to get rid of an actor or replace an actor, because I do have this toolkit,
Mm-hmm.
where I can help an actor find their
Mm-hmm.
way. And I also don't have a stereotypical idea of the way something should necessarily be
Mm-hmm.
done. If I'm working with you as an actor, it's going to be about how you respond to that moment in that situation. And if the script says she starts to cry but you start to scream, I'm going to be the person that says, she started to scream, that came out of her. I think that's more interesting. I think that's more truthful. you know Now, I have had situations where I've had to help an actor cry, that had to happen, and I know how to do things to make that happen. Not make them cry, but
Get them
oh,
to that place. Yeah.
get them to that place. Yeah, I like to create a safe environment, and I think that there are directing styles where they're very hierarchical, where a director tries to instill fear in actors and make them feel less than and make them feel like an object that they're moving around, like on a chess piece on a chessboard. That's not me. I work collaboratively so that the actor feels like they really believe they're in that circumstance in that moment.
Can you give like one of your tools to an actor that they can do to help that process with maybe a director that is not as talented with as you on eliciting that? So for those actors that are listening in, they have something that they could do.
I think that is a lot of the reason why people have acting coaches now, because I think that, there are a lot of directors that are brilliant with the technical aspects, but they haven't really um, concentrated on how to talk to actors. Yes, one tool I think is very important again is personalizing the material. So if you're acting in a breakup scene, and a lot of that can happen on the first day. You're meeting a stranger for the first time, and suddenly you've had a whole relationship with them, and now you're breaking up. Personalizing is asking yourself where in your life you've had a parallel experience and really taking the time to recreate that and recreate the history of that and then bring it into the scene. So it's not just that moment, it's you're endowing the relationship with the other actor with this history that you've built around this relationship. And so suddenly when you're looking at them, when you're listening to them, when you're interacting with them, there's a whole history between you that you've created, informed by your own life. And that's sort of in a nutshell what I mean by personalizing the material. The answers are really inside of you and your life. They're not outside of you.
That's amazing because that's a I think one of the keys that a lot of young actors forget or don't implement, that you can't be that character unless you're personalizing, unless you relate this somehow to a moment in your life. And every script you can do that with, every scene, every line. Doesn't matter that it's a drug dealer and you've never done drugs, but I'm sure you've done something, that you can relate that to. So it's amazing advice. Two questions. Bit of advice you can give to a new filmmaker coming out that you want to share to them that you've learned over this experience?
Yeah, I mean, I still consider myself a new filmmaker, but what I can say is that there are no stupid questions. I feel like, when I went in with, I understood what my strengths are and I understood all I had to learn. And I went in with a lot of humility, still very much in creative control of the set. You can't apologize for what you don't know. People are counting on you to run the set and to have the answers and to have really have answers to every aspect from you know sound to what interpretation of the script, interpretation of the actors journey, shot list, all you're responsible for all of that. But I didn't hesitate to say to my DP on Rose's Turn, my first film, I didn't hesitate to say, this is what I see. How do we do this? How I don't know anything about lenses. What lens will make it? I know what I want it to look like. Will you please tell me what lens? And I didn't feel any shame in asking those questions. So I think ask questions, respectfully. Don't pretend that you know what you don't know, because you know not everyone knows everything. you know and that's what the crew, your compatriots are there for. I mean, I'm not a DP. I'm a director, so he's going to have that expertise. And he was cool with me asking him any question. And I went in saying that too. I said, listen, is it okay if I don't know how to do something, if I don't know how to shoot something? He said, yeah, of course. And he also said, every director does that, no matter how experienced they are. But I felt like I had to ask that, is it okay if I ask? Yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's good advice. Okay, so tell us a dirty little secret from anything, acting, directing, writing, a dirty little secret of Hollywood that you wish somebody had told you.
Oh my gosh, that's such a fascinating question. A dirty secret.
It's a loaded question, and it can be filthy, and it could be, however you want.
A few things are coming to mind. This is, because I
Yes.
met you through La Femme, I guess. Listen, I have a beautiful white male straight son. Okay. So I love white male straight men. I don't have anything against them. But I want to say that I do think that unconsciously, I was very much conditioned to make myself smaller in order to communicate and fit in with systems that were in place throughout my whole career in the entertainment industry. And I also, very much felt like, this person's being inappropriate, this person's, sexualizing me, this person's hitting on me, but I just have to put up with it. And what I've learned is, and certainly there's been Me Too now, and certainly there's been, a lot more expression of movements. But, what I've really learned is that's not okay. And I don't have to put up with that. And no person has to put up with anything that makes them feel uncomfortable. And not to apologize for that, and to somehow find a way to empower your own voice, and that there is going to be a place for you, and there is going to be a community for you, and we have to be brave and courageous and believe in ourselves, and not believe that the power of our creativity is in someone else's hands. That's a myth. That's not true.
That's a dirty little secret. Thank you. I want to say thank you so much for coming on Best in Fest. For those who want to submit their film to the festival this year, go to Film Freeway and search on La Femme International Film Festival, or go to lafemme.org and find us there. Don't forget to listen to Best in Fest on any of the platforms. Make sure you like us and give us a thumbs up and give us a good review. Would you like to share some of your socials so people can get a hold of you?
Yes, I would love for people. I have a blog for actors, a free blog for actors.
Great. Let's get that.
Yes, actors can ask me any dirty little secret question, and I will answer it on my blog. It's called Stay Tuned LA, and that's on Instagram. And then my production company, Firsthand Films, firsthand.films, is also on Instagram. So feel free to follow us and DM me. My website is kimberlyharris.me, where I have a lot of examples of my work and stuff like that. So I'd love to hear from any of your listeners.
Excellent. For those that want to get a hold of her, you know what to do. Make sure you also tap onto the YouTube channel for La Femme, and you'll see the visual of this podcast if you're a visual person. Stay tuned to Best in Fest. Again, Kimberly, thank you so much. Thank you for being on, and
Thank you.
see you all at the movies.